Externalized general objections, or ego, are proliferating the human mind, shielding people from the uninhibited self. In general, or the G in ego, we tend to object, or the O in ego, to other people's way of life or who they are as an individual. The subconscious mind holds onto the judgments fueled by the unhealed self. When an unhealed aspect of self is mirrored in another individual, that trauma is perceived as it came from that external source, or the E in ego. I use the term ego shield to express that there is a protective layer shielding the human spirit. Cohabitating the shield is the trauma or negative aspects of self that inhibit you from expressing your mind, body, and spirit to its full capacity. Some individuals compartmentalize these traumas and attempt to consolidate their suffering. In doing so, it has quite the opposite effect. Not knowing the spiritual meaning and the future implications of traumas that occur can cause a person to bury any means to recover the beauty and the wisdom that arise from them. Imagine a shield surrounding you. This isn't a typical shield. This shield is likened to an energy-based defense system surrounding a starship. The only difference is being how is the shield utilized. A purpose of a shield is to protect. What is the shield protecting? It certainly isn't, energy-based weapons. So this shield in particular is energetically burdened with ego attachments. The ego filters what it perceives as negative, in which the shield absorbs it. An ego attachment is anything the person deems egotistically satisfying. As the shield is being fed these ego attachments, the more cumbersome it becomes. The egoic field suffocates spirit as spirit desperately awaits an opportunity to breathe out into an opening. Eventually too heavy with ego, a medieval shield may be too cumbersome to be useful in your conquest for ego absorption. This inability to carry the shield might be the opportunity spirit was waiting for. In order to lighten the burden, one must be courageous enough to confront ego attachments. In this modern society, this 9-to-5 mentality of materialistic and superficial distraction, we must find a way to not be tempted by television and what the media says what is cool and what is proper. You'll notice a lighter, more satisfying, and more palpable layer of something that may be unfamiliar. It may be familiar to you at times when you have expressed a sense of individuality that wasn't from the bowels of your own ego. This was a genuine expression of spirit, and it may have felt like powering down of spirit, and may have felt like powering down of the shield that has been protecting you from that free expression. I like to differentiate between unhealthy ego or ego shielding and healthy ego expressing spirit or genuine self. When someone has an ego, it's usually interpreted as a negative thing. Someone might say this person is full of himself or herself, they have a big ego, or this person is so narcissistic, they really seem like they have a big ego. People also may think that if there isn't an ego, there isn't a personality. The unhealthy ego is the expression of the person's personality that develops a false sense of self in order to survive in modern society that demands that individual to act and behave in a certain way. So watch how certain people will behave in certain situations. People tend to lower their shields in front of situations, in front of people that don't demand the protection. When that protection is lowered, more of that person's spirit shines through, even if the shield is partially powered down. Developing that sense of individuality with minimal interference from the egoic shield will bring more wisdom and peace of mind. With added wisdom and peace of mind, you can enjoy the free-flowing potential that is genuine self, ego attachments aside. So, well, let's, be reasonable. We're not all perfect. Let's try to dial down the ego shield, as much as possible. Unfortunately, for many individuals, the core traumas are not fully realized, and the legacy of the damned aspects of self will eventually be taken to their graves. For those who are courageous enough to power down their ego shield, may have a fighting chance to discover the hidden truths behind their traumatic experiences and ultimately heal from them. Ironically, if an individual is successful in integrating these traumas, they will be appreciating the fruits of what will be discovered as their damned legacy. As always, this is the channel Psychnaut, where subjects such as psychology, the human psyche, and psychedelic-like information coalesce. And remember to keep exploring the inner universe that is yourself.